you've given information to the ISI, Pakistani intelligence services, about the existence of these Al Qaeda camps?
Yes, time to time, yeah.
And what have they done?
They are the main people who are training them.
The Pakistani government is?
Yes.
Training Al Qaeda?
Yes.
How can that happen? The Pakistani government is supposed to be opposed to Al Qaeda.
The retired junior commissioned officers are the main trainers in the camps, training Chechens, Arabs, and some Kashmiris and Afghans.
This video, shot in 1998, shows the bond between Al Qaeda and Pakistan's Kashmiri fighters. They provided protection for Osama bin Laden on the very day he declared war on America. And US military officials have personally told me they know that Al Qaeda, the Taliban and Kashmiri groups have teamed up.
Whatever Musharraf is doing, he is taking half-hearted steps.
For journalist Amir Mir, it's no surprise President Musharraf tolerates this nexus of Islamic fundamentalists.
General Musharraf, he himself is a fundamentalist, a jihadi from the core of his heart. He is a product of the Pakistan army, which has a fundamentalist outlook. Because each and every soldier of Pakistan army is raised to wage jihad, to fight against infidels, against Indians, against Hindus.
With the president and the army so tolerant of Muslim extremists, is there any hope of pulling Pakistan back from being terror central? It's a Sunday evening in New York.
Hi, did you register?
Hundreds of Pakistani Americans have gathered to discuss being Muslim in America. And that's why I've traveled here.
The cases table is 8.
But there is concern here. Concern by some of their leaders that the next Al Qaeda attack in the US could come from within this very group, influenced by extremists in Pakistan.
This is a major concern among the Pakistani Americans. They know now what happened on 7/7 in London, and there is a growing concern that when we send our kids back just to know their culture, language, just to have vacation, we don't know what are the kind of people they will be associated with.
Welcome to tonight's event entitled American Muslim Students Conference.
For most here, their loyalty to the United States and to Islam do not conflict. But since 9/11, many feel stigmatized.
Why are Muslims in this country being detained for no reason other than they're Muslims, no charges and no fair trial? Please answer that question.
As I'm listening to people in this room, it's clear there is a lot of anger. But at the same time, there's also an openness here to discuss the issues.
Are we Americans? Are we loyal? Or are we just Muslims?
But here in my own country, Britain, the attitude could not be more different. In this London community of Walthamstow, young radical Muslims of Pakistani descent have gathered to watch videos of Osama bin Laden cheering the September 11th attack.
2001, the Twin Towers, they were bombed. 2 buildings came down. 3,000 people died. After that, they went for the Pentagon as well.
CNN was allowed to videotape their meeting. Members of emerging Islamic radical groups.
If I talk about more, inshallah, we need to understand the mentality.
Incredibly, this meeting was held right next to a community mosque. As they listen to bin Laden, they debate their own radical views.
People who are to blame for the 7th of July are, number one, the British government, no doubt about that. Number two, the British public. The British public are responsible and are to blame for what happened on the 7th of July because they voted for that government.
Their vision leaves no room for anything but their own radical view of Islam.
Any other way of life, Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, atheism, communism, capitalism, all of these ways of life will not save anyone from hellfire, and they will be punished for this by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
The Twin Towers, they were bombed.
We then met with Imam Rabbani in the mosque next door and showed him what was being said in the name of Islam.
After that, they went for the Pentagon as well.
He was shocked.
Really surprised me. I couldn't expect that extent behavior, especially chanting on this occasion.
Imam Rabbani is the spiritual leader of this mostly Pakistani community. His message, peace and tolerance.
We are proud to be Muslim, we are proud to be British. How can I say I'm Muslim and not British? My religion is Islam. My country is Britain.
The young radicals believe that Rabbani is wrong.
These are the same people that are supporting the British government and justifying their policies and telling us to obey their laws and to obey man-made law and disobey God. So who are these people to say that we do not understand Islam? They're the ones that are calling us to disobey Allah and obey the Queen.
I said very categorically and very clearly, they are misguided. They don't know the basic of Islam. If they knew, they wouldn't say these things.
Not long after our visit, police raided several homes in Walthamstow after receiving warnings of a plot to hijack and blow up planes headed to the United States. The intelligence tied the suspects to Pakistan. Most of those arrested were British of Pakistani descent. Some community residents who viewed our tape said one of the men arrested had attended the Al Qaeda and Saviour sect meeting CNN filmed. Both groups are now banned. Like President Bush, Britain's former Prime Minister Tony Blair is appealing directly to Pakistan President Pervez Musharraf for help in fighting terrorism.
People say, well, okay, you're fighting this battle, but I mean, are you winning it? And what I would say is that we begin to win when we start fighting properly.
I travelled back to Pakistan to meet the country's Prime Minister, Shukhat Aziz. There are clear connections.
We have no evidence.
Distasteful it is.
Let me say that we have no
As I
evidence.
discovered, the Prime Minister did not like being questioned about his country's ties to terrorism. Pakistan appears to have become Al Qaeda central.
Well, let me say that nothing is further from the truth. Let me just address one by one the various issues you've raised. The London bombing, which happened last year, there was no evidence of any involvement of anybody from here.
But that's not what British security advisors found. They say a significant number of terror cells in Britain have Pakistani links. Shahzad Tanweer and the other 7/7 attackers are just the tip of a deadly iceberg that threatens not just Britain, but the United States too.
What you have witnessed now is only the beginning.
As I end my journey, I'm forced to ask, in the war on terror, is President Musharraf part of the solution or part of the problem?
After the 9/11, it was a smart policy to support Musharraf. It had some strength to say Musharraf can prove to be an agent of change. That made sense. In the long run, it is going to be very damaging.
In Afghanistan, US and NATO troops are in increasing danger. Worst of all, the battle to keep global jihadists at bay, to fight them on their own turf, is being lost. Musharraf's failure to measure up in the war on terror has made Pakistan a sanctuary for Islamist radicals intent on attacking the West. Pakistan has become terror central.